Transmitter device activated. Coordinates set for Earth 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Earth 2 podcast, your weekly exploration of the DC Comics multiverse and the legacy of their Golden Age characters to the Silver and Bronze Ages of comics. I'm Peter Watson.
This is Brandon Peters.
I'm Steve Higgins.
I'm Gavin Reitzer.
I'm Aaron Newworth.
I'm Chuck Loredens.
And I'm Kelly Blair.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Is it too early to say Merry Christmas?
Happy festive season, everyone.
Compliments, yes.
There we are.
Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm just going to be old-fashioned and say it. Yes.
Hey.
Listeners, welcome to our very first Christmas episode of the Earth 2 podcast.
We've done Halloween specials, we've done Hogmanay specials.
Yes.
But not a Christmas one yet.
Nope.
Until now.
I had to kind of gently twist Peter's arm into doing this one because I saw the potential. Over the last year or so on the show, we've covered the period when DC Comics were publishing their 100 pages. JLA 110, published on the 6th of December 1973, my first Christmas, gosh, is a 100-pager, and it has a seasonally flavoured story. So, whereas in the last couple of years we've gone big on it being Hogmanay and trips to Scotland, this year we're mixing it up slightly. We're going a bit Christmassy. Maybe we'll go back to Scotland next year, who can say. So, I think the best way to kind of let you know why we're doing it is for Peter to tell you about the cover.
We have DC 100 Super Spectacular Pages, only 50 cents at the top. Here comes TV Super Friends, Justice League of America. And we have 3 panels on this cover, but surrounding the panels we have an array of heroes. From left to right, we have Dr. Midnight, Hal Jordan Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Batman of Earth 1, Superman of Earth 1, Flash of Earth 1, Atom of Earth 1, Black Canary, now of Earth 1, Green Arrow of Earth 1, and Hawkman, who I assume is of Earth 1. So basically Dr. Midnight's there as the only Earth 2 representative, really.
He's standing there thinking, I'm confused. What's going on? What's happening? Why isn't anyone saying anything?
I've turned up to the wrong meeting. Yes, so there are 3 panels. I'll talk about the bottom 2 first, because they're the reprint stories in this issue. The Justice Society's War Against Street Gangs. And we've got some assembled members of the JSA, Wonder Woman, Flash, Black Canary, Green Lantern, Hawkman in the background, and the Atom at the front. And they are being confronted by a little child with a club with, it seems to be a big nail through it, I believe. But he's casting a shadow of a gangster with a fedora and a pistol in his hand.
Oh my goodness.
And that, of course, reprints the story from All-Star Comics number 40. The other panel at the bottom is The World's Greatest Heroes team up with Zatanna the Magician, and that reprints the final parts of Zatanna's search for her father, which we covered a very long time ago on the podcast.
Yeah, we did. That's from JLA number 51. We did it way back in summer 2020. I remember typing up and printing out summaries for us to do that. Imagine we'd done all those as full reads. Good grief.
Yes.
Anyway.
So we're doing a full read of this one as well.
Yes, we're going to read every single page of this 100-pager.
But the panel representing the new story in this issue is the year's most startling story, The Murder of Santa Claus, 1973. And true enough, there is a snowy landscape. Santa is face down in the snow. It's actually quite a skinny Santa from the looks of this.
Maybe he's lain there for so long that his body started to decompose. That's grim.
Yeah, it's grim.
Sorry.
Yes, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes.
His sack is beside him, and falling out of his sack is a toy drum and a little doll as well. And in front of him is a large key with a lovely festive red bow tied round it.
Yes.
What could this mean?
Interesting. Well, we'll hopefully find out very soon. What I like about this cover, it's almost like the superheroes all that are arranged are looking into the panels and assessing. So it feels appropriate that Dr. Midnight should be looking in on the GSA panel. I think that's quite nice. And Hawkman, I can't remember if he was in the Zatanna story, but it's nice to see him.
Oh, yes, he was.
I'm always surprised at how little Hawkman actually turns up on the podcast.
Yes.
Comparatively speaking to other heroes.
I love it when he does.
Anyway, right, so without any further ado, into the story properly.
Flash from the Justice League satellite. We've just had a fantastic Christmas adventure, and here it is, our brand new tale of the JLA fighting one of our strangest battles.
Yes, that's almost been reported from the JLA satellite. Is the JLA satellite alive? Look forward to that story when Pete and I write our own DC comic. Captioning continues.
This most special adventure of the Justice League of America begins not as a call to danger, but as an errand of mercy, as the world's finest duo, Superman and Batman, rendezvous to... But we'll let you find out for yourself.
Batman is standing in a nice, smart room. The windows open, we can see snow falling outside, and Superman is flying in his cape, flapping behind him. Batman greets his old mate, saying,
"You're right on time, pal. To the second."
I wouldn't have missed this for anything.
We see Bats and Soups looking into another room where they can see a sort of portly gentleman putting on a Santa costume. He's pulling his hat into position, as Superman says.
You ready yet, Santa? Those orphans won't wait all evening, you know.
And Santa replies, "Be with you in a moment, Superman. I want this outfit to look exactly right." But he's cut off by a massive explosion. Destroys the room he was standing in. Batman goes flying. Superman also is sent flying. Batman says in the next panel,
What happened? My head feels like someone's been dribbling it. And Santa? What about Santa? He was in that room.
An explosion from the bedroom. My invulnerable body shielded you for most of its effects.
The world's finest team cross to the doorway of the shattered room, looking in. Their faces are suddenly horrified as Batman says,
"Oh dear Lord, no!"
Then we get the full splash image. We can see in the foreground of the panel Santa's body stretched out. Superman and Batman look on.
Sorry, chum, but there's nothing we can do for him. Santa Simpson is dead.
And if I didn't know better, I'd swear the key to his killer is in his hand.
And we see at this point there is a large, ornate, fancy golden key in his outstretched left hand, wrapped in a little piece of red ribbon with a little bit of mistletoe attached as well.
A key indeed, Batman, but no ordinary key, as your examination will show. No, this is a challenge. An invitation that will soon lead Earth's greatest heroes along a twisting, terror-fraught trail in pursuit of
The Man Who Murdered Santa Claus. We then see that beside the key, also in Santa's hand, is a piece of paper, and it reads,
To the Justice League of America, a Christmas gift to you from me. A very extra special key. Beneath the arch it fits a lock that once it's turned will save a block of city folk, both mayor and bum, from being blown to kingdom come. So waste no time, don't hesitate. You have till 12 to find the gate. This key will fit, though I admit, I think you'll be too late. Signed, an admirer.
And then we get the credits for the issue.
a startling season's greeting card from Len Wein, writer, Dick Dillon and Dick Giordano, artists, Julie Schwartz, editor, with special thanks to Green Lantern fan Duffy Volland.
Interesting. The first panel of page 3 shows Superman and Batman activating devices in their belts, as captioning reads.
A man has died. The gauntlet has been thrown, and though across the world this night the air is alive with joyous tidings and holiday cheer, it is now alive with something else. The crackling electronic whisper of 2 Justice League emergency signal devices being put to urgent use. A supersonic impulse that circles the globe with a clarion call to battle.
The rest of the page, we see various members of the JLA in various situations. The captions walk us through them.
But though the call goes out to all, some are unable to answer. Barry Flash Allen, for example, spending the holidays with his wife Iris and her parents 1,000 years in the future.
Yeah, and we see Barry and Iris with Iris's folks. And we don't see too much of the future. There's a weird blue globe floating in the air. Iris's mum looks very relaxed. Barry looks great in a sort of red blouson sort of jacket with heavy pockets, and Iris looks very dapper in a nice yellow dress. Smashing.
Or Ray Atom Palmer, who, totally involved in the exploration of a submicroscopic universe, has lost track of the Yuletide season on his own world.
Yep, and we see the Atom with lots of weird stuff going on behind him, weird shapes and stuff, the sort of things you'd expect to see in a submicroscopic universe, quite frankly. The captioning continues.
While Ralph Elongated Man Dibney scuba diving with his wife Sue off the Caribbean coast, well out of reach of his JLA receiver, seemingly has not forgotten the season at all.
This is great because we see Ralph and Sue with their masks on and their oxygen tanks underwater, and Ralph has opened up an oyster and found a very nice pearl. Aw, that's lovely.
Nor has Aquaman, King of Atlantis, as he presides over that undersea city's sacred Festival of Lights.
And we see Aquaman and Mera sitting on their thrones watching the aforementioned Festival of Lights going on, and they look a bit bored if you ask me. Mera's got a touch of the Melania Trumps going on there, doesn't she?
Yes.
Very impassive.
Yet others who receive the emergency summons are not so distantly preoccupied. John Red Tornado Smith, enjoying a casual stroll through snow-draped Central Park with his lady friend, Kathy Sutton.
Yes, and we see John Smith, that bald-faced disguise that Red Tornado now uses, with his pal Kathy. Beautiful snowy cityscape. And John is saying,
Forgive me, Kathy, but I've just remembered an emergency that must be dealt with immediately.
Next on the list,
Oliver Green Arrow Queen and his lady friend Dinah Black Canary Lance interrupted in the midst of a more personal celebration.
yes, this is quite funny. Dinah's fixing her hair. I wonder if they were lying down when they, Anyway.
And lastly, Hal Green Lantern Jordan, caught in the act of preparing for a Christmas Eve date.
Yeah, we see Hal getting out of his shower, wrapping a towel around his waist, as he's saying,
"Never fails. Step into the tub and somebody's bound to call."
and he hasn't seen the bar of soap on the floor, which sends him flying with a
Whoops!
clung. He bangs his head against the bath and falls to the floor.
The crucial JLA signal persists, and when it is not answered, there comes silent movement in the room, as a self-motivated power ring bathes its owner in emerald light, ascertains that the damage done to him is minor, and, failing to rouse him, surrounds him with a healing aura, then streaks off into the night.
See what you see captioning there? Hal's power ring, bathing him, and then flying off, leaving him on the bathroom floor. A quick dissolve.
Come with us now to a certain urban ghetto and watch the rest of this scene run its course.
And we see a familiar face, someone we haven't seen the podcast probably since, March or so of last year. It's none other than architect John Stewart, who's in the process of saying to two of his friends,
So there I am, standing with these building plans I've worked months on clenched in my hand, and this pig-headed idiot says to me,
and then suddenly, taking John completely by surprise, his clothes are transformed into a Green Lantern uniform as Hal Jordan's Green Lantern ring positions itself on John's right hand. John exclaims,
"Huh?"
and then the power ring says,
John Stewart, alternate Green Lantern of Space Sector 2814, you are needed.
and then in the next panel, before John can do anything about it, the ring bears him up into the sky, flying him off as his pals look astonished, and John says,
Wait a minute, what if I don't want to go?
Thus has the summons been sent, and the clan gathered, but, as we can see, by turning our attention to a satellite whirling 22,300 miles above the Earth, it is a depressingly small clan indeed.
yes, we see the assembled members of the JLA, the ones who managed to make it. We see Black Canary, Green Arrow, Batman, Superman, and Red Tornado, all looking down at the fancy ornate key that Batman and Superman found in the hand of the poor dead Santa. Batman is saying,
Might as well get started. Looks like we're the only members who are going to show for this meeting.
and then Black Canary whirls around and says,
Who?
Green Arrow says,
You!
and we see that John Stewart, in his Green Lantern uniform, has arrived in the satellite. Superman is not impressed. He says,
You may be wearing the uniform, friend, but you're not Green Lantern. Tell us how you got in here, or...
Easy, brother. Just keep cool a second and this little ring will tell you anything you want to know.
Green Arrow then says,
Hal Jordan told me about this dude, Soups. Let him talk.
And as the power ring explains to the JLA all that we have already seen,
yes, nice shot of the power ring as it concludes its little story, saying,
I've been programmed by my master, were he ever too incapacitated to answer your summons, to secure John Stewart and deliver him to your presence in my master's stead.
to which John says,
There's the whole story, gang. The Green Lantern regularly scheduled for this time has himself one monumental headache, and you have me in his place?
What a miserable way to spend Christmas Eve.
says Green Arrow. And then Red Tornado speaks finally, saying,
Pardon my asking, Green Arrow, but why is this particular evening different from any other?
What? You gotta be kidding. Christmas Eve is different because... how do you explain something like that to a doggone machine?
My artificial origins have in no way impaired my capacity for learning, Archer. If you are unequal to the task of answering my simple query, merely say so and I will understand.
Unequal? Why, you lobster face...
Okay, that's enough. If you have so much extra energy, Bowman, why don't you devote it to the problem at hand?
And what problem is that, Batman?
The problem of this key, Green Lantern. Unless we find the lock it fits before the stroke of midnight, an entire block of innocent people will be blown to pieces on our behalf.
and we see Batman tossing the key in his hand, up and down. GL says,
Heavy. You have any idea where to start looking?
And in a nice dramatic Neil Adams style close-up, Batman replies,
As a matter of fact, Green Lantern, I have.
And you would too, dear reader, if you'd read that tag attached to the key most carefully. The clues are all there. All you have to do is find them.
We have a slow dissolve to a fascinating local landmark for a member of our cast.
And if you found the clues, you should find yourself next at the famous Gateway Arch in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, listening in on a trio of Justice Leaguers as they plan their next move.
A spectacular shot of the arch, and we can see that the three figures standing on top of it. We hear Red Tornado.
If Batman's deduction is right, and I'm sure it is, we've narrowed our search area down to one city.
Green Lantern says,
Great! So what do we do now?
We get a little closer in the first panel of page 7. See Superman, Red Tornado and Green Lantern standing at the top of the arch. Superman is saying,
Logically, we tried this key in every lock in the city, except that it would take us years to finish the job. Now, if the Flash were here...
Unfortunately, Flash is absent, Superman, but I am here, and if our stand-in Green Lantern will utilize his power ring to make this key Geiger counter-sensitive to the lock it fits, I will endeavor to serve as Flash's substitutes.
Forgive me, Tornado. You're right. Of course. Go ahead.
Green Lantern then starts to scan the key.
Okay then, brother. A little concentrated willpower and zap! You get that key anywhere near the correct lock and man, you're gonna know it.
I'm very impressed by that ability. We get some captioning then.
Like a wild Midwestern whirlwind, the Red Tornado hurtles down the city's bustling streets, through residential areas, business districts, up well-paved avenues, down dirty cobbled roads, but the result is always the same.
Yes, over a little montage of the tornado flying around the busy city, until he comes up in a very rough-looking part of town and thinks,
I've scoured the entire city, and thus far the key has reacted to nothing. A few moments more, then I'll return to the others and admit my defeat.
We can see a sign on the road in front of him at this point that reads, Street condemned, keep out.
But as the Red Tornado swirls down the rutted, rubble-strewn street...
Yeah, well, very helpfully, the key in his hand starts to glow with a green light, and he thinks,
The key, pulsating, throbbing like an overactive heart. In this crumbling building before me, I've found the lock it fits.
Fantastic.
And brief moments later...
We see the other members of the JLA arriving. Green Lantern bearing Green Arrow, Black Canary and Batman on a little power ring conjured platform. Superman flying in on his own steam. And Soup says,
If I didn't know any better, Tornado, I'd swear you were smiling under that helmet.
Tornado looks up. I like how he's standing in the snow up to his ankles at this point. He looks up at the others arriving and says,
Perhaps, Superman, for I've found the lock we seek, and I suggest we make use of it quickly. But as the Justice Leaguers move to follow the Tornado's suggestion...
Yep, off camera, we hear a couple of very young voices. Season's greetings, mister. Can you spare a quarter?
How about you, brother? Spare some change?
And Green Arrow and John Stewart, Green Lantern, turn, and John Stewart says,
Huh?
And they look down and see three very impoverished-looking young children. The boy in the middle says, Yeah, how about you, Mr. Lennon? You black too. Can you help a brother make it through Christmas? And John, looking appalled, says,
Really wish I could, little fella, but they don't put pockets in these outfits. Look, why don't I just use the power ring to whip up some...
But he's interrupted by Green Arrow, who says,
Stuart. I don't think the Guardians allow that. If you really want to help these kids, you'll wish them a Merry Christmas and head into that old house with the rest of us. 'Cause if we don't find that bomb before midnight, those kids and everybody else still living in this sump hole won't be around to see Christmas.
Sorry, little brothers, but the man's right. Maybe I can give you something later.
In the foreground of this panel, you can see that Superman is putting the key into the lock of the door of the building in front of them.
With an almost silent click, the key turns in the lock, and cautiously 6 colourfully garbed figures enter the crumbling tenement. Their progress observed by 2 darkling eyes that peer coldly, emotionlessly through the gloom of a hidden control room.
Yes, we see a very shadowy figure watching on a screen as Superman opens the door and steps into the building. Interesting. We return to the Legos. We can see in front of them a rat gnawing at an apple core, and Green Arrow pipes up with,
Man, this place looks like the underside of a rock.
Welcome to the inner city, ladies and gents. If you think this joint is bad, you should see some of the filth holes I've had to live in.
Superman remarks,
Let's discuss relative real estate merits afterwards, people. After we've located the bomb.
Suddenly, the next panel, with a thump, the floor opens up beneath everyone. They all start to fall in. Superman exclaims,
Huh?
Batman yells,
A trapdoor!
Canary cries,
We're falling!
And when 6 startled heroes stagger to their feet...
Yes, they appear to be standing in a very narrow, very deep pit. Batman asks the others,
Any bones broken? Everyone all right?
So far, I guess. But we ain't gonna stay that way long. Look up there.
As they look up, indeed, we see a glowing red sphere floating down towards them, radiating golden energy. This doesn't look good. Green Arrow says,
Looks like someone's trying to drop coals in our Christmas stocking. Hot coals.
More than mere coal, Archer. That thing descending towards us is a miniature sun.
Green Lantern tries to stop it using his power ring, but of course...
A sun with a yellow core, I bet, because the power ring has no effect on it.
And an asterisk takes us to a caption which gleefully means Peter gets his Christmas present early, as he gets to say,
Join in, everyone. Due to a necessary impurity in its makeup, the power ring has no effect on the colour yellow. Editor.
Awesome. First panel of page 10, it looks as if Superman's starting to sweat. He puts a hand up to his brow and says,
Maybe a yellow core, but its primary radiation is that of a red sun, which saps my superpowers. Got to try to destroy it before it's too late.
You out of your mind, Soups? Without your superpowers, that thing has you outmatched all the way.
I at least have a chance. If any of you others attempted it, it would be suicide.
Suicide, my ear. We can't let you...
Shut up, Archer, and listen to me. Whether you like it or not, I'm trying it, and I'm going to need your help.
And moments later, a pain-racked Man of Steel races into action, with every step he takes searing agony. Every motion racking torment, but still, he continues, for he is Superman, and he will never admit defeat.
Yes, basically, Batman and Green Arrow link hands and launch Superman up towards the descending miniature sun, and Superman collides with it, and there's a massive... huge explosion. Green Arrow says,
Soups did it. Blew that sun to smithereens. Saved us. But where is he? What happened to him?
and a very pained-looking Batman says,
I'm afraid I know. That explosion blew Superman to atoms as well. My best friend is dead.
But before the heartbroken heroes are lost to their depression...
Green Arrow consoles a weeping Black Canary who says,
Oliver, I can't believe he's gone.
But then Red Tornado notices in the background,
Look, something opening the wall. A portal of some sort.
yeah, because some kind of doorway is appearing. Batman says,
Then let's make use of it. Superman may be gone, but our mission still remains.
Instance later, as the fifth and final Justice Leaguer steps across the portal...
Canary notices,
The doorway. It's sealed shut behind us.
yes indeed we see the door slamming closed. Batman says,
And with good reason, Black Canary. Take a glance at what's ahead of us.
very helpfully, Green Arrow tells us what it is.
A circus calliope playing its own music and spewing out gas.
Yes, it's a very ornate piece of equipment, lots of blue pipes at the top and a cloud of ugly yellow smoke floating out from it down across the floor towards the heroes. Green Lantern says,
It's choking me, and this blasted ring is useless against it.
then Red Tornado says,
The room is sealed shut. No way for my super whirling to dissipate the poisonous fumes. My companions are doomed.
Black Canary gets a close-up.
Tornado's right. We've all had it. Unless... Oh, it's a long shot. But I have the power. If I can just hit the right note to counter the Calliope song.
For the first time in many months, the lovely Black Canary throws back her head and sings a silent ultrasonic melody that forces the choking fumes away from the gasping jail airs.
Fantastic, yeah, the smoke seems to drift up and away. Green Arrow, coughing, says,
I can breathe again.
and Red Tornado observes,
Look, another doorway opening in the wall.
yep, another doorway is slid open. Green Lantern says,
Then let's get out of here.
Batman, Red Tornado, and Green Lantern run through the door as Green Arrow says to Canary,
Come on, Dinah. We've got to move fast.
but Canary replies,
I can't, Ollie. My ultrasonic song is the only thing holding back the gas. I have to stay, but you don't.
and with that, Canary grabs Green Arrow by the wrist and judo flips him through the open door as Oliver cries,
Dinah, no!
Even as he strikes the steel hard floor, the Emerald Archer is whirling, lunging toward the room behind the daring girl he loves. Too late!
Yes, too late, because with a slam the door has closed. Oliver yells,
Dinah!
starts to batter on the door in the next panel, saying,
Got to get back in. Got to get to her. She needs me. Dinah needs me.
Batman intervenes.
Archer, Oliver, pull yourself together. The door is impenetrable. There's nothing you can do for the Black Canary. There's nothing anyone can do for her now.
The heroes all look very sad indeed. Green Arrow particularly struck, obviously.
While elsewhere, a certain shadowy figure is doing plenty.
We get a close-up of a shadowy figure speaking into a microphone. We can see his white gloves and appears to have a dark collar to whatever it is he's wearing. And he's saying, "As you have observed, sir, two of the Justice League have now fallen to your superior ingenuity. Do you wish me to continue?" And then the camera pulls back and a figure is revealed who says,
Continue? Of course I wish you to continue, Keyman number 1. How do you expect me to rest until the Justice League of America is dead? Or I am. And, my friend, when the key slithers off this mortal coil, he's taking as many as he can with him.
An asterisk takes us to a caption that reads,
The keynote criminal last appeared in JLA 63.
Yes, and we see the key wearing his mustardy, bronzy, gold tunic with a crossed key symbol on the chest and that weird headdress that kind of looks maybe like part of a Yale key. I don't know. He's brown gloves and he's sat in a big chair. The shadowy figure he was just speaking to appears to be behind a screen to his left. On a screen, he watches Batman, Red Tornado, Green Arrow and Green Lantern making their way through the next door in this underground maze that they found themselves in. That takes us to the top of page 13, where Green Arrow is saying,
"Come on, guys, what are you crawling for? The skunk who murdered Dinah is waiting for us at the end of the maze, and nothing will stop me from getting my hands on him and..."
Red Tornado interrupts.
It is fortunate you said that, Green Arrow, for something surely intends to try.
And with that, Red Tornado points ahead, saying,
Observe.
And Green Arrow exclaims,
"What in blue blazes?"
And then we see what appear to be enormous, well, very helpfully, Batman tells us what we're seeing, bouncing towards them.
Giant globes, like Christmas tree ornaments, bounding towards us. And I doubt if they're friendly. Whatever you do, man, don't let those things touch you.
That is something the world's greatest heroes needn't be told, but as their unique abilities are brought into play against the careening globes...
Yes, we see that Green Arrow firing arrows to try and stop the bouncing baubles, JL firing his power ring to try and delay them as well, but Batman leaping over one notices and thinks,
Ornament, about to hit Green Arrow from behind. No time to use something from my utility belt. All I have to deflect that globe is... myself.
And with a thud, Batman collides with one of the bouncing baubles. Green Arrow exclaims,
"Huh?"
as he turns and sees, and a caption reads,
And in that frozen instant, before the battling bowman's startled eyes...
Yeah, basically, we see Batman being swallowed up by the bauble that he kicked. Green Arrow, reaching for an arrow in his quiver, is thinking,
"That ball, absorbing Batman into it. Got to do something to save him."
However, he hasn't got there in time.
Too late. Batman's gone. I couldn't save his life either.
See that Batman has been absorbed completely into the giant ornament. Green Lantern yells,
Shelve it! Another one of those doorways opening up across the room. All we gotta do now is get to it.
Yep, we see indeed another doorway appearing in the wall in front of them. Green Arrow gets a close-up at the top of page 14 as he thinks,
Near as I can figure, those huge ornaments are tracking us through our body heat. And if it's heat they're looking for, these two incendiary arrows should supply him with plenty of...
And with that, Green Arrow activates, the only word I can think of, two of the arrows that he's pulled from his quiver. They start to spark and flare in his hands as he continues to think.
Hey, it worked! The globes are all being attracted to me, leaving the other guys in the clear.
He yells to the others.
Stewart! Tornado, run! Get the heck out of here! Quick!
And indeed, as we see the baubles all rushing towards Green Arrow, Red Tornado yells,
Green Arrow, what?
Green Lantern says,
Don't question the man, just move it.
And as the baubles all close in on Green Arrow and Green Lantern and Red Tornado make their escape, John Stewart looks back and says,
Sweet sister, that dude ain't got a chance against those hungry mothers. He sacrificed himself for us.
Then I suggest we endeavour to make our efforts worthy of Green Arrow's sacrifice.
I'm with you, pal, if you said what I think you said.
But then we see, behind them, another door opening with, well, Green Lantern continues,
But I don't think that troop of tin soldiers sees it quite our way.
Yes, we see some human-sized, traditional, as you'd imagine them, automatic tin soldiers all walking out towards them with guns and swords raised. Red Tornado says,
They're preparing to attack.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, seeing as how they're trying to blow our heads off.
Green Lantern fires a beam from his power ring which blows up one of the soldiers with a and Red Tornado makes his right arm go all twisty, which we haven't seen him do in a very long time, and that knocks out one of the other soldiers. Green Lantern is delighted that the ring seems to be doing what he wants, and he says,
Hey, this gleaming gizmo's finally working on something. It's... Blast. Spoke too soon. Those toys aren't only soldiers, they're chameleons too.
Yes, with a glow. Tin soldiers have all changed colour. John continues,
They've transformed their colors, become totally yellow, so the ring no longer affects them.
The Green Lantern, powerless to do anything, Red Tornado's now twisting both of his arms into mini tornadoes to try and deal with the soldiers. He says,
They've grown heavier as well, Green Lantern. My whirlwind does not disperse them as easily as before.
That kind of news I'd rather not hear, brother, 'cause if my ring ain't working and your breeze is blown, then, mister, we have just about had it.
The now yellow toy soldiers move towards the two heroes.
Do not lose confidence, Green Lantern. The battle is not lost until you cease to function totally.
Them's words to live by, pal. I'll have 'em engraved on my tombstone. Huh?
And both heroes fall backwards as Red Tornado notices
Another portal sliding open behind us. It takes only an instant for the two startled heroes to tumble through the unexpected opening. Then,
as the door slams shut in front of them, we see Green Lantern and Red Tornado standing in what looks like some kind of badly carved out underground tunnel. Very odd. Green Lantern says,
It's sliding shut after us again, cutting us off from the march of those weirdo soldiers. But why? They had us. I don't understand.
Nor do I, Green Lantern, but perhaps the answers await us at this darkened tunnel's end. While in an now familiar elsewhere,
we see the Key in his control room looking at the yellow tin soldiers on his screen as the shadowy figure in the other room says, There, sir. If you will observe, you will see. The remaining members of the Justice League have been destroyed.
Splendid, Keyman number 1. Excellent. I swore I'd have my revenge on those witless fools. Swore I'd outlive them all. Well, most of them anyway. And I have. By thunder, I have.
The Key then narrates the next few panels at the top of page 16, which all have that nice ripply flashback effect.
The arrogant dolts. They really thought they'd taken care of me for good when last we met.
And we see the Key with Superman holding up by his shirt front. The Key says,
I'll find a way to escape no matter where you put me, Superman.
Really? Even from my fortress of solitude, where you'll be kept in a state of suspended animation?
They might have indeed been rid of me then, had not Superman's suggestion been ruled unconstitutional by a too lenient judge.
And we see the Key, flanked by Superman, Green Lantern, the Flash and Green Arrow, standing in front of a judge in a courtroom situation. Key's narration continues.
Instead, I was sentenced to 20 years to life. But, as it turned out, life was the shorter of the two extremes. For a routine examination by a prison doctor revealed...
Yes, we see the Key in some kind of medical situation in prison. He's still wearing that bizarre headdress. Maybe it's actually part of his head. I don't know.
I believe so.
Because he's standing there with no shirt on, obviously being examined by this mustachioed doctor with a stethoscope around his neck, and the doctor is saying, I'm sorry, but there is no doubt. The various psychochemicals you've injected yourself with over the years have destroyed your cellular balance. In a word, you are dying.
I wouldn't last out the year, the doctor said. I might make it through Christmas, but I'd never see another New Year. Under the circumstances, I was paroled from prison to carefully plot my vengeance.
And we see a very skinny-looking Key being walked out of the prison gates by another very skinny police officer. We then return to the Key in the present, in his control room, looking very triumphant, raises both fists in the air. He looks very pleased. He smiles and says,
The Justice League of America was responsible for the only defeats I'd known in my life. How could I leave them alive to witness my final defeat, my death? The murder of that dime store Santa Claus, the key clue that led the Justice League into my specially prepared death maze, all the result of months of planning and preparation, all part of my unique Christmas gift to myself, my last gift, the destruction of the...
But he's interrupted as a voice says off camera,
Forget it, Key. The tag in that gift should say you can't open it until Christmas, and it's still a few minutes before midnight.
The Key whirls and says,
Who? No, it can't be you. It's impossible.
And then we see a door sliding open, revealing Green Lantern, John Stewart and Red Tornado.
A most illogical statement, villain, since we are obviously here.
No, but you're not here. I'm dreaming this. I must be.
Another door slides open to reveal Black Canary and Superman. The Man of Steel says,
And you must be dreaming us as well, Key.
Superman? Black Canary? I'm losing my mind.
And then another door opens to reveal Green Arrow and Batman. Thank goodness Green Arrow is saying,
Put that last comment in the past tense, Needlenose, and I'd probably agree with you.
Green Arrow? Batman? Then I'm not hallucinating. You're all alive. How? How?
And then a voice from off camera says, How, scoundrel? The answer is simple. I am the reason the Justice League survived your diabolical schemes. As the Key whirls around to look and all the other heroes startle as well, Batman says,
Of course! I should have realized.
Superman exclaims,
You?
And Batman continues,
Only one man could constantly be in the right place at the right time to save the lives of each of us. The Phantom Stranger.
And indeed, the Phantom Stranger is revealed, walking into the room and pulling the unconscious form of who the Key thinks is Keyman number 1 behind him. A caption reminds us that
Phantom Stranger is the mysterious man in black who last appeared in Justice League issue 103.
Yep, which we covered, of course, last year in a special Halloween episode. The newly arrived Phantom Stranger gets a big close-up as he says, I deserve no credit, Batman, for performing any act you most certainly would have performed yourselves had I not been here. When the opportunity presented itself to replace the Key's underling, I took it. Nothing more than that.
No, you can't ruin me this way. I won't let you spoil everything. If I can't have the Justice League, I'll settle for second best. That precious city block of people you tried to protect.
And at that, the Key moves off towards what look like keys sticking out of some equipment on the wall. Presumably they're going to trigger the explosions. Green Arrow points and says,
Hey, the Key's gone crackers. Better stop him.
But when the JLAers attempt that...
Yes, we see the Key turning one of the keys he was rushing towards.
Too late, you fools, too late. This primal key has been turned, and in moments, the area above us, for several square blocks, will be blown to atoms.
GA fires an arrow, which has no effect because as Green Lantern observes as he fires his power ring,
Can't reach him. Turning that key also threw a yellow force field up around him.
yeah, we can see the golden force field right enough. Then the Key continues in the next panel.
Admit it, heroes, you've blown it. I've won. The Key has won at last.
And with that, he drops through a trapdoor on the floor, disappearing from view. Canary says,
He's getting away, and there's nothing we can do to stop him.
the Phantom Stranger says, I would think you'd have other matters foremost in your mind right now, Black Canary, for the Doom Bomb's irrevocable countdown has begun. And above you there are many who will perish, unless...
Say no more, stranger. We're on our way.
And instants later, a mass evacuation begins, as those of the Justice League, each in his unique fashion, work to clear the bewildered residents from the danger zone before the impending cataclysm can occur.
Yes, and it's a nice montage panel of Green Lantern bearing some people to safety and Batman swinging his rope with helping a little boy, Red Tornado carrying a couple of folks, Superman flying a few people along on what looks like a sofa, and Green Arrow and Black Canary walking another bunch of folks out of another building. Tremendous.
And at last...
Yep, we're up in the air with Green Lantern John Stewart, who's thinking,
Only a few more seconds till the Key's booby trap wipes this whole miserable neighborhood off the map. The Justice Leaguers have saved all the local residents. So I guess it's up to me to save the rest of the town from the shockwave that will result when the bomb goes...
The bomb goes off, but thankfully Green Lantern has conjured a massive green force bubble to contain the explosion. Thank goodness for that.
When the smoke of the eruption has cleared...
Yes, we see Batman and Green Arrow standing with some of the locals as Green Lantern alights beside them. Green Arrow saying,
Huh? Those buildings should have been destroyed by the explosion. But looking at them now, I'd swear they'd just been built.
They were, Archer.
Green Lantern gestures towards the local kids standing nearby as he says,
It's against the Green Lantern's code to use the power rings to give these folks new housing. So I just used it to reconstruct the old buildings the instant they were destroyed, minus the roaches, rats, collapsing ceilings, and such. Those old tenements are now clean and solid as the day they were built. I promised these kids a Christmas present, and they got it.
Fantastic. Who says they don't make things like they used to? I really gotta hand it to you, Green Lantern.
Green Lantern? You know, that's the first time you've called me that since we met.
Yeah? Well, maybe you finally earned it, hero.
Hate to intrude on such a vital revelation, gentlemen, but I thought you'd like to know. In the heat of the past few minutes' confusion, nobody noticed, but the Phantom Stranger is gone. Again, without saying if he'll accept our offer to join the JLA. Guess he just stopped by to give us a little Christmas present of his own.
And then we reach page 20, which is a nice little scroll at the top, which reads,
Epilogue.
And a caption begins.
Then, in a certain orbiting satellite, several hours after the Justice Leaguers have said farewell to their substitute Green Lantern...
Superman, Red Tornado, Green Arrow, Black Canary are all there. Red Tornado says,
You summoned me, fellow members, for a reason of some importance, I hope. My friend, Miss Sutton, seems to be growing a trifle annoyed with my sudden departures.
Canary says,
We think it's important, Red Tornado. I wanted to give you this.
And Dinah holds up a nice gift-wrapped parcel.
I do not comprehend. What have I done to deserve such an honour?
Superman says,
It's not an honor. It's a gift. A Christmas gift. From all of us.
A very grumpy Green Arrow in the foreground mutters,
Humbug.
And we see Red Tornado has opened his parcel to find...
Why, a new uniform of some kind.
A new red tornado uniform, to be precise, chum. Black Canary designed it and sewed it herself.
I was just too tired of that drab, grim outfit you've been wearing. Go ahead, Tornado, try it on.
There is a whirling blur of motion in the chamber, and then...
Red Tornado stands revealed at last, resplendent in his beautiful costume as I always picture him. The red body stocking, but the yellow stripes on the trousers, yellow belt, yellow gloves, yellow pinstripe down his arms, the yellow arrow on his forehead, his new blue cape with a red piping, and the red piped collar around his neck, the yellow T on his chest joining up with his belt. Absolutely superb. And this new dynamic superhero then says,
Thank you, my friends. This new uniform is most appealing. Yet I still do not understand your purpose in giving it to me.
But we need no purpose, Red Tornado. Don't you understand? It's Christmas. The satisfaction, the reward is in the simple act of giving.
Giving? Do you mean as in the way each of you sought to give your lives earlier this eve, that the rest of us might live?
We see Green Arrow obviously rolling his eyes painfully in the foreground of this panel as Canary replies,
Not exactly, Tornado. It's more like...
No, Dinah, maybe Red Tornado was right. After all, they say the man whose birth we celebrate today gave his life that all the generations to follow him might live in peace. In the background, Green Arrow mutters,
Oh, just wish him a Merry Christmas and be done with it.
Soup says,
Am I hearing right?
What did you just say, Oliver?
I said Merry Christmas. A simple Merry Christmas. You want to make something of it?
You want to make something of it?
Stealing Guy Gardner's line
Yes.
there.
And a delighted Canary leans forward and kisses her other half on the cheek, saying,
Oliver. You've already made enough out of this for all of us. Merry Christmas, sweetheart.
Superman turns to the camera and says,
Merry Christmas to everyone!
and a caption rounds things out saying,
And that is a sentiment we'd all like to share. Season's greetings from all of us here to men of goodwill everywhere.
and another small caption reads,
The end.
Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. That was a lot of fun. Nice to see Jon Stewart again. I mean, it counts as the second appearance of that legacy character, so that's justification for us doing it. And nice for the Phantom Stranger to bother to turn up again.
Certainly is, and I love the debut of Red Tornado's costume. That's fantastic.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah,
I love
the
that
classic
suit.
costume. Yeah,
I love that suit. It's one of my favourite superhero costumes of all time. I remember,
Yeah.
I think it's around issue 179, 178, when it's that predominantly green cover where the kind of purple weird monster is going for the little boy and that Red Tornado and that outfit is whirling in to protect him.
Yep.
Iconic as all heck. Love it.
Dr. Destiny story, if I remember rightly. Yes, great stuff.
Aye, yes, absolutely. Any thoughts on the story then?
It was just a fun, daft runaround. Poor Key, he's dying.
Poor Santa.
Well,
Then,
yeah.
you know, that's the point. Like,
Okay, Key's a bit killy, let's be
Yeah.
honest.
You know, I didn't expect some kind of Christmas miracle where the Santa was revived or anything, but they didn't really say too much more about him after the fact that he was blown to bits. I think that's horrible.
My allegiance is obviously with the bad guy because I voiced him. What can I say? I'm in his mindset, you see.
I wonder if that's where the guy got the idea for what happens at that scene in Terrifier 3. I don't know. Anyway,
Sure.
Steve told me when we were recording his Batman lines that that's a very misrepresentative image of the St. Louis Arch. Maybe it's just bigger on Earth 1, or maybe the buildings in Earth 1 are smaller, but Steve said, well, it's impressive. It doesn't tower over a city quite as highly as that, but I don't know. Steve also has an observation to share with him himself.
I wanted to make a quick note that I am reading this out of Christmas with the Superheroes issue 1, published in 1988. And as I've discovered on a little read through here, there's a couple of minor edits. On the very first page, when Superman arrives, Batman says you're right on time to the second and doesn't call him pal. But even a bigger cut is over on page 10 when Superman is supposedly killed. He says, I'm afraid I know. The explosion blew Superman to atoms as well. And that's where it stops. He does not call Superman his best friend and does not seem concerned that Superman has died. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was the whole post-crisis feeling, wasn't it? Yes,
Yeah.
But the classic Silver Age World's Finest team's always the best. Though,
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh,
I'm always kind of disappointed that there haven't been more of them that we could have covered, you know, especially in the Bronze Age era, because there's some brilliant covers and I prefer it when they're pals. I really do. I remember when Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice was announced and I just kind of went,
Yawn.
God, you know, it's much more interesting when they're on the same side.
Yes.
Anyway. But no, as you say, a nice fun little run around, putting heroes in peril. We think half of them have died when they haven't. Phantom Stranger must have some real powers just to kind of get in there and stop Batman being absorbed by the bauble in plain sight of,
Yeah.
of the others not seeing him doing it or whatever.
I like how he just let everything play out, even if obviously he could have stopped it earlier.
That's true. Maybe could he have prevented the maybe Santa had to die. Oh,
maybe.
Maybe there's a reason. I don't know. But I liked all the trappings, like
Yeah.
the sort of toy soldiers and the giant decorations and stuff. That was fun.
I have a major problem with Superman in this story because he's so underpowered. Did he casually forget that he has super speed and can race the Flash?
This is true.
And, it's like, no, Red Tornado's the one that has to zoom a bit. And Supes, you're a lot faster than Reddy is. Let's be perfectly honest here.
Yeah.
Don't put people's lives at risk just because you want to give them a bit of a confidence boost.
That's fair.
And also, that scene where everyone's falling down the trapdoor, Superman falls down the trapdoor as well.
Yes.
He could have flown them out of there at super speed.
This is true.
And instead they wait for this red sun coming down, this miniature sun.
Or Green Lantern could have arrested their fall or something, or wrapped them in cushions or something. I don't know.
Well, in fairness, John's not got the experience of using the ring and everything, so maybe he wouldn't have reacted quite as quickly.
He does get quite a good handle on it. He obviously has a brilliant handle on it by the time he manages to reconstruct every single building in perfect condition.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Towards the end, so that's some dangerous level willpower that he's got going on there.
Maybe it's just a command to the ring to do that thing and not actually to design everything himself.
But again, it would have taken quite a lot of, I imagine it would have taken quite a lot of willpower to make it happen.
Well, he is an architect.
Exactly,
so,
yes, this is
he
true.
knows what he's doing.
This is true.
So,
yep. I liked that we got a little bit of GA Black Canary action.
Exactly what I was going to say there.
Jinx.
Ollie didn't get much action though.
I think it was it was good. Like, I like Canary's sort of sacrifice. I enjoyed that part, and Ollie's reaction was fairly muted, in the same way that Batman's was fairly muted. But I suppose you can't have endless pages of grief when something like that happens. I wonder how quickly they were all reunited. I wonder if they were all reunited before Phantom Stranger made the doors slide open to reveal them. I hope so.
It's weird that in the Black Canary sacrifice bit, our canary cry is silent.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It says a silent ultrasonic melody, and there's none of the concentric circles coming out from our mouth that we usually get.
Yeah, so presumably it was done on such a pitch that human ears couldn't hear it, I would imagine.
Maybe. I bet you it really annoyed Red Tornado.
Probably. And it is interesting, of course, that they don't really let the key away because the bomb's going to go off and all that. There's not really time to do it. But given the powers of Superman, Red Tornado with Phantom Stranger and Green Lantern, they probably could have caught him if they tried. Yeah,
very true. Very true. But, I mean, let's be honest, they think the key's going to be dead soon anyway, so...
Right, so they just let him walk away. He'll drop dead at the end of the corridor once he gets there. The key comes back, of course, in issue 140, or doesn't? Is that issue where, is it that orange coat, or am I conflating? I think it's a...
Yeah. It's round about then, Go Heart round about then.
Aye. We'll be doing a few stories around then, so maybe we'll mention it, but we certainly won't be reading it. Okay, shall we have a quick look at the contemporary correspondence?
Yes, let's jump ahead.
So, listeners, if you haven't put your copy of JLA 113 away from when you were reading along with it a few months ago, skip to the end. You'll see the letters page. JLA mailroom. The first letter reads, Dear Editor, seems that everything I was waiting for Lynn Wein to do with Justice League was done by this incredible writer in issue 110. The Man Who Murdered Santa Claus will remain a classic, even though devoid of new innovations, because Len really crammed all he's got into this one. First and foremost was the Black Canary development. Since Denny O'Neil gave this lady the sonic power, I've been rather irked. I love Black Canary the way she was in the Kanigher Infantino Golden Age days, when she was a regular in Flash comics. I've been hoping that the sonic power would fade out. It had in JLA, but Bob Haney kept reminding us of it in Pretty Bird's Brave and the Bold appearances, and I was getting upset. Oh dear. However, Len seems to have a fantastic solution. Making the Black Canary a bird with an ultrasonic song was a master stroke. Of course, bird not meant in the Scottish terminology of bird there at all. Hopefully this canary will open her mouth and sing with the same results in future issues. Second, the use of the alternate Green Lantern, John Stewart. I'm a great Green Lantern fan, one of the few who writes in every other week screaming for new Solar Director stories. Hint, but I've never heard of John. I was surprised, pleasantly. Though his appearance in the story was totally needless, Hal Jordan could have filled the spot easily. These needless details add so much to a story. The more unusual the plot, the more twisty and turny the storyline, the more classic the issue. Also great, the return of the Phantom Stranger. The old-style page showing the JLA receiving or not receiving the signals, done beautifully. The Tin Little Indian-style elimination of the JLA. And the key, of course. Not so good. Red Tornado's new uniform. A little gaudy. Oh no. Almost so opposite to his old one. Editor's note, you're breaking Len's heart. The JLA author designed the new costume himself. That's an interesting fact. The correspondent then goes on to talk about the JSA reprint with a little bit of an emphasis on Black Canary and a costume change, and that letter is from Bob Rhodey, Oak Brook, Illinois.
Oh, it's Bob Rhodey again.
Indeed. editorial response is...
As is our editorial right, we open this letter call with a roadie rave, rambling righteously over every aspect of our startling Christmas time issue. First voice in a chorus of huzzahs that contained but a few sour notes. Let's move on to a second plus perspective of issue 110 from Toledo's terrific Andy Whitehead. And Andy's letter says, Dear Editor, having now watched the Three Stooges, I am in the right frame of mind to review JLA 110. Mind you, not that I had to be in a good mood, for this latest issue was highly enjoyable, highlighted by the return of an old villain and the first JLA Christmas story ever. Despite the fact that to an older reader, the identity of this issue's villain was not in doubt after the second page, the story was highly enjoyable. Thanks go to Len Wein and Duffy Voland for bringing back John Stewart, the only black man I ever saw in a comic who was not a stereotype, to at least some degree. Len handled Stewart fine. Denny O'Neil can be proud that his character creation has been carried on so well. However, let's not overdo it by having John pop up every issue and a half. Only one other suggestion story-wise. Get rid of the Phantom Stranger. He had no place whatsoever in this story, and he should be kept out at all costs. Every time a writer needs a handy-dandy all-purpose escape gimmick, up will pop the stranger. Nay, I say. And then he goes on to talk about the GSA story, and that is from Andy Whitehead from Toledo, Ohio.
I quite like it when the Phantom Stranger turns up.
And the editorial response to that is...
Though we would love to see nothing but deserved letters of praise hit the desk, an opposite opinion is bound to appear. Here with one that starts out as a Brooklyn bombast, one ends up with a bouquet. Next letter then reads, Dear Editor, I'm going to play Scrooge and go the derogatory route on Len Wein's Christmas story in JLA 110. I know that Len was moved by the season and editor Schwartz to do a peace and goodwill yarn for the occasion, but the story was so flawed that any success in creating a mood was spoiled. Why didn't Stuart GL's ring work on those globes on page 13, the yellow bit being contrived? Why would it take years for Soups to find the right lock? He's fast too, you know. So, as we said when we were recording. So fast, in fact, that he could have easily caught the key on page 18 and thereby avoided the mass evacuation. This is true. Maybe the story had its cute moments, but I couldn't appreciate them with such glaring faults. Yet they were fine points. Wein's characterizations were excellent, especially in the Red Tornado Green Arrow relationship. Having John Stewart show up as Green Lantern was a pleasant surprise too. And the key's motive, vengeance only, and not all the money in the universe, provided another dimension to what was otherwise just another costumed lunatic. I'd like to close by answering the diabolical critic and Albert Turner, whose letters appear in the JLA mailroom. The suggestions to drop Superman, Batman, and the Flash from their membership roster are ridiculous. Those three characters are responsible for a good many sales, and dropping them would be a disaster. Besides, they are great characters. And that's from David Dash, Brooklyn, New York.
David Dash again. We're getting all the favourites this time.
And the editorial response to that one reads...
And dash it all, David, we agree with you about our senior superheroes at least. For John Stewart, the alternate Green Lantern, there was almost universal applause. See your next letter, which goes, Dear Editor, I am glad you published JLA 110 because it gives me a chance to give my opinion of John Stewart, something I should have done back when GL 87 was published. My opinion... I don't like him. I never have, probably because his origin is too contrived. First look at Green Lantern 59, in which the whole concept of reserve Green Lanterns was introduced. Hal Jordan was allowed to make contact with Guy Gardner, but not to notify him of his reserve status. Now look at issue 87. From Conversations, Thoughts and Attitudes, Gardner now apparently knows of his position, had even been in semi-active status. So now we rush out and find a new Green Lantern and tell him the whole setup right away, when Guy had not been told until he was needed to handle duties in this space sector, if such ever happened at all. So I think it was all contrived, and I don't like John Stewart as a Green Lantern. Now, about JLA 110, a good story, but the ending was too convenient. Having the Phantom Stranger save the League and Red Tornado's new costume is a bummer. It's too garish, and besides, it makes him look like the competition's android. Interesting.
Interesting indeed.
And that's from Kenny Scott from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Pardon me, boy. Well, what obviously happened is that there was an untold story where Hal met Guy Gardner again or properly or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's not too much of a stretch, and it's an interesting comparison to the Vision.
Yes.
Anyway, the editorial response reads, We never envisioned, aha, yes, very clever, I didn't notice that the first time there, the response the startling new garb of the Red Tornado would bring from our eye-stung audience. The next reader sums up the response of most readers all too well. Next letter reads, Dear Editor, regarding Red Tornado's new costume, yuck! And that's from Bill Hope, Long Beach, California. Editorial response to that one reads,
That sums it up all right, to a minus for Reddy's new duds.
so we're the only folk that liked it. He's basically had more or less the same suit ever since.
Yeah, pretty much.
With a few mild
few
exceptions.
tweaks.
Anyway, next letter goes like this.
Dear editor, my 7-year-old sister's eyes widened as she studied the cover of GLA 110, pointing to the picture of Santa lying face out in the snow. She gasped, "Is this true?" Not having the heart to tell her that both the Justice League and the Jolly Man in Red were fictional characters, I simply said, "No, it's pretend." The murder of the dime store Santa did little for the story, really, but it did get our heroes fired up. I was ecstatic at the key's return. Len seems to enjoy resurrecting old villains and even older heroes. For good measure, Phantom Stranger and the alternate Green Lantern were thrown in. But don't you think GL's powers were a little too limited? Everything was turning yellow. Since membership seems to be a major issue, I'll go on record as being one of those the more the merrier folks. But Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Metamorpho and Zatanna certainly deserve to be in the GLA. The League needs more heroines, more than anything else, and that's from Randy Emmenheiser from Tyrone, PA.
Editorial response reads, point well taken regarding ladies in the GLA, though I wonder how an old chemical He-Man like Metamorpho would take being included in that particular lineup of fantastic crime fighters, who just happen to be female. From GHLII. Who could that be? Who's the
Guy Lillian.
That'll be it. And that brings us to the end. Listeners, we hope you've enjoyed our Christmas special. Thank you to Chuck and Kelly for playing Green Arrow and Black Canary again. Thank you to Brandon and Steve for playing Superman and Batman again. Thank you to Aaron Neworth for voicing Jon Stewart for us. And to our great mate Gavin for his cameo as a shower-struck or bath-struck, however, Hal Jordan. Much appreciated, folks.
Yes, as usual, everyone. Yes.
As usual, we will put links to Brandon and Aaron's and Chuck's and Kelly's podcasts in the show notes. So I would encourage you to check them all out. Kelly's about to start season 3 at the time of recording. Brandon does out now with Aaron and Abe every week. And I'm not sure what Brandon's got planned for Christmas because we're recording this on, the 28th of November. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what he's got calling for us in the coming weeks.
Here we are. But what did you think about this? What you got planned for Christmas? Why don't you write to us and let us know? You can email us at theearth2podcast@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on social media so you'll see all the lovely bonus content David's worked up for you for this week, and indeed every week. On Facebook and Instagram, we're at the Earth 2 Podcast, and on Twitter, we're at podcast_Earth2, and it's the number 2 for all of our socials.
Certainly is. If you'd like to give us a nice review for Christmas, that would be lovely. If you'd like to go to our coffee page and buy Peter the price of a mulled wine.
I could stretch to a mulled wine.
That would work. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just Merry Christmas, folks. Thank you for listening. We'll
Happy holidays.
Yes, we'll hopefully be back next week with a review of the year, mixing the order up a little bit this year. Mm-hmm. And then there's plenty of good stuff to look forward to in 2025. So Merry Christmas, one and all. Have a good one when it comes. Mm-hmm. Take care, and we'll see you soon on
the Earth 2 Podcast.
Transmatter Cube activated. Return coordinates set for Earth Prime.
Sweet sister, that dude ain't got a chance against those hungry mothers.
Hello, Earth 2 Podcast. Not to be confused with the Earth 1 Podcast. Those guys suck, right? Okay. This is Brandon Peters, and I'm playing Superman.